Welcome to Daily Airline News. We bring you now new video of the JEJU Airlines Boeing 737 suffering what appears to be a bird strike. And we also bring you new video of the approach of this aircraft to the runway, indicating that the flaps were not set correctly. So here's what we now know about this terrible, tragic crash. JEJU Airlines Boeing 737-800 was on a flight from Bangkok International Airport to Muan International Airport in southern South Korea. It was approaching the airport around about 8:45 a.m. in the morning, and ATC warned it at 8:57 about flocks of birds in the area. Just 1 minute later, at 8:58, the aircraft encountered these birds and the pilots declared Mayday. There is now vision of the actual bird strike, and observers on the ground say there were in fact 2 or 3 explosions that they heard from the vicinity of the aircraft, indicating multiple bird strikes. Now, critically, at 8:58, the same time that the Mayday was declared, the aircraft's critical ADSB, that's the data that tells air traffic control the location, the altitude, the speed, direction of the aircraft, this data failed. Now, this appears to be an electrical failure. This was at 900 feet. This flags multiple failures. Air traffic control advised the aircraft to discontinue the approach to 01, which is the south to north runway, and approach from the north on runway 19 to the south. That approach was made, but new vision of the actual approach shows that the aircraft did not have the correct flap setting. Now, the flap setting for a landing on a 737 is what's called flaps 30, which is 36 degrees of deployment of the flaps. The flaps on this aircraft were possibly only 11 degrees. Now, these flaps are critical to slow the aircraft up. So this aircraft approached at high speed. The undercarriage clearly is not deployed due to the high speed of the approach, and it has overrun the runway by 300 meters, 1,000 feet, and impacted a wall. Now, that wall, while not ideal to have it there, does comply with international civil aviation regulations of being 300 meters beyond the threshold or the end of the runway, depending on which way it's being used. So that's what we know. Now, what are investigators going to focus on? Well, the black boxes, they've got the black boxes. The American NTSB will be involved in this investigation because it's a Boeing aircraft. The French BEA will be involved because the engine is a joint venture between SNECMA of France and General Electric of the United States. It's a company called CFM International, and they are the engine suppliers for the 737. They'll be involved along with Korean authorities and JEJU Airlines. It's possible that the black boxes that have been recovered will be actually taken to the United States to be read in Washington, D.C., or they could be read in South Korea, depending on their capabilities. Within 30 days, the Koreans are obliged to issue a preliminary report, although that preliminary report may simply state the facts as we know them right now about the flight, the number of passengers who have passed away, 179, and crew, and a more detailed report will follow in the months or years to come. However, any significant safety learnings from the cockpit voice recorder and the digital flight data recorder will be advised to Boeing and the engine maker and airlines as quickly as possible to ensure that any safety measures that need to be taken to prevent such an accident are put in place immediately. Investigators will very much focus on the cockpit voice recorder to understand what was going on in the cockpit. That will give them the conversation between the pilots and air traffic control. It'll also give them details of the warning sounds that were the warning bells that were going off. The cockpit voice recorder is going to be very critical to this investigation to understand exactly what the pilots were dealing with. The digital flight data recorder will also be critical to the investigation because that will tell investigators what systems had failed on the aircraft, what engine's performance was, the electrics, the hydraulics, and other key systems. Thank you for watching Daily Airline News. Please subscribe to us. Please like us. Please leave us some comments and stay tuned for another edition of Daily Airline News as we bring you up to date with this tragic accident in South Korea.